Hi, this is Debbie Slutsky, Manager of Certification Programs at the American Nutrition Association, and welcome to this tutorial on the CNS Candidate SPE, or Supervised Practice Report. So just a few things to mention as far as, who should use this new report. If you are a candidate already using the CNS SPE tracking tool, you do not need to use this new report. Please keep using what you have. You don't need to copy and paste anything into a new version or even start, from your hours now. Just continue using the tool that you've been using. But if you are a CNS candidate just starting out on the supervised practice experience, then you should use this new report. So it takes the place of the candidates report and the tracking tool. So before this new one, there were two different forms that candidates were using. So we have combined those two reports into one called the Candidate SPE report. So what's different about it is there's one document versus multiple documents, one tracking tool within the document to record activity with all supervisors. So before it was separate documents, so you would use one tracking tool per supervisor, but now again, this is just one document and we will go through it. It has several different sheets attached. Supervisors don't need to sign the candidate's document, but they will continue to submit the supervisor's report with their signature and information there. And then category B, which is nutrition intervention, education, counseling, or management, competencies are grouped in a slightly different way than they had been before on the self-evaluation sheet. So that's one other different thing that is in this new document. So there are 7 different worksheets in this document, and they are each color-coded, which I'll show you. And you can just see, instructions, which, you'll be able to see and have visible at all times. The summary, the guidelines, your candidate's responsibilities, the tracking log, the self-evaluation, and then there's a resource of health conditions. So we'll review those momentarily. So why are we switching or revising this report? Well, in an ever-evolving field, as you know, and professional environment, the BCNS historically has updated certification information, eligibility requirements at times, and then, of course, application documentation. So the goal is always to support candidates and certificants to earn and to keep the CNS credential, to practice at your level of education and training, and ultimately, of course, to obtain state licensing when applicable. And so in response to feedback from candidates, supervisors, and state licensing boards, we have been working internally to develop streamlined SPE reporting documents for CNS candidates. So this new document is meant to track more detailed information on how you are working on a daily basis with clients versus checking off just the competencies that you have met. And supervisors will continue to submit their supervisor's report directly to the BCNS by email. They will not need to sign a cover sheet or any part of the candidate's report. So nothing changes in the submission process. Upon completion of your 1,000 hours of supervised practice experience, candidates will submit this document, the Candidate SPE report, via their portal. And as a reminder, you'll log into the portal, click on Membership, Certifications, and Trainings, and then click on Forms. And this can be found in the middle column that's titled Certifications. And then while you're in the portal, you'll be able to see at the top of the Forms page the documents that you have successfully submitted to the portal. And then your SPE application is complete when we have received your candidate SPE report and then your supervisor's report. And once your application is complete, it typically takes 2 to 4 weeks for the review process. You can always email applications@nutritionspecialist.org to check on the status. And then once it's reviewed and approved, we'll notify you by email with either of the following responses: that you have earned the CNS credential. That will mean, of course, that you have passed the exam and submitted and been approved of all of your 1,000 hours. It may be that your supervised practice experience has been approved, and then of course you'll earn the CNS credential upon passing the exam. Or you may find that your SPE has not been approved, and of course we will tell you the reasons why. And as a reminder, you have up to 5 years to complete and submit your 1,000 hours of supervised practice experience after passing the exam. So if some people ask, can you use other reports? So it may be that your supervisor or supervision program has other similar reports, and you may be permitted to use their form instead of this new form upon approval, from the BCNS. So just check with your supervisor to see if theirs has been approved. And then with state licensing requirements, if your state licensing board has a similar report, you may be permitted to use their form instead. And so, of course, please be sure to contact us here at this email address or phone number to see if that's something that we can approve. So let's go over to the form itself. So here is the, as you'll see, there's various tabs at the bottom, like I mentioned. And so the first sheet is called Instructions in red right here. And we list even in the instructions page as I scroll down just to show you how long it is, each of the 7 worksheets. So instructions, and then you'll see SPE summary, SPE guidelines, candidate responsibilities, etc. So we list them here just for you to keep track of what's here. And then, of course, please read steps 1 through 8 very carefully, listed here, 1, 2, 3, etc. And you may want to review them periodically as well as you are working on your hours. So you'll complete the hours tracking log and self-evaluation. So here is the tracking log. And then the tutorial, we have a tutorial 2, which will go more into the details of tracking the hours here. But for our introductory purposes here, please note the following, that you will track your hours. These are some examples in gray. And then as you see the date, supervisor, description of work, etc., all along the top in blue. But you should track your hours and details daily, or at least as you accrue the hours. And you'll use 1 line or 1 row for each client. Pretty self-explanatory, but you can see that when you fill in the hours for columns G, H, I, so here's G, H, I, so that's categories A, B, and C. K will subtotal, so you'll enter in the date, the supervisor that you're working with, a description of the work, your practice name or facility, and we'll go into independent or observational in a moment. And then you'll add in the category A, B, or C, however many hours you used or spent rather. And then it will subtotal and total. So you don't need to type anything into K or M. You'll see that it'll automatically total into this column right here. And then you can add more rows if you need to. Of course, the rows are numbered here all the way down. We give quite a few down here. I think it goes to, like row 800. So you should have plenty, but if you need to add more rows, you can insert more rows. And then you'll follow the examples to fill in either checks or X's with the independent column here. And so column E, you'll see, is for independent or direct hours. And then you'll note again the actual time that you spent in G, H, or I. Column F, however, is for observational hours. So here, instead of entering a check or an X, you'll actually enter the number of hours or time spent, and this will subtotal at the bottom of the sheet. So again, row 800. And the reasons that you fill the hours in here in the observational is because there is a maximum number of 250 observational hours. So that's why you'll enter these in, and then those do translate into categories A, B, and C. So both independent or direct and observational do get put into your categories A, B, and C. And then column F is for the, so that's where column F is, sorry about that. And to see what is counted as direct or observational experience, you can check the SPE guidelines, which is this yellow column here. And this information is also on the website called Quick Check the SPE. So we have the same information here for activities. If we scroll up, observational experience, what kind of counts as observational experience, and then what counts as direct experience. And then we also have a list of what does not qualify for any of the supervised practice experience, just to be clear. And then we'll go back to the hours tracking log. And then, so the total number of hours of supervised practice experience will be documented again in categories A, which is personalized nutrition, assessment, and interpretation. Category B, which is personalized nutrition intervention, education, counseling, and ongoing care. And then category C is personalized nutrition monitoring and evaluation. So you have to have at least 200 hours in each of these three categories. And then the remaining 400 hours may be in any of these categories. And then hours spent with your supervisor in column L here. This, for example, when you meet with your supervisor once a week for 1 hour and meet with a client for 8 hours, the total number with here in M will be 9. So the hours you spend meeting with your supervisor will get counted in the total. They do not have to be in addition to the 1,000 hours, but they are part of the 1,000 hours. There's no maximum number of hours that you can spend with your supervisor. And it might be that you spend more hours initially at the beginning of your practice experience as you get used to working with clients and get comfortable, with the process and creating the treatment plans and implementing the treatment plans. And it may mean that you just have kind of more regular hours later on in your experience. So going back to column J here with the health conditions, this field and all others are open fields. So you can type in whatever you want here. You don't need to choose from the pull-down menu. So once you type in a condition, it will get added to the pull-down menu for future reference and for easier typing. But there is a worksheet here called Health Conditions, and this is really just to be used as a reference. We have kind of, a little instruction on each of these pages. But so it's not a complete list of health conditions your clients may experience, but it can be definitely used as a reference, and you're welcome to type in your own notes here. This isn't anything that we monitor or review. It's simply here for your own personal, note taking. And then when we go back to the column K, as I just previously mentioned in the subtotal column, you don't need to enter anything here, as the formula is set to automatically calculate the hours in A, B, and C, and it subtotals it here. And then column L, like we just said, this is the hours with your supervisor. And then total, of course, M, you don't need to type in anything here. It should calculate K plus L, and that will total here. And as you complete the CNS competencies, it's recommended that you add them to the purple tab, the self-evaluation here. And well, the work is fresh in your mind. So it will be more time consuming and more difficult to have to go back to this to recall the work that you did. So again, we highly recommend that when you're using the tracking log, you also use the self-evaluation tool on a regular daily basis. So this report is a detailed description of your 1,000 hours of work meeting the rigorous competencies of a nutrition professional, and meant as a reflection and self-evaluation of all the hard work and hours you have dedicated for this gold standard credential. Now, this section is very important for the BCNS and state licensing boards when relevant to be able to evaluate your experience. So we really highly recommend that you elaborate and provide as much detail as possible with your experience and activities that fulfill each competency in which you have experience, indicating here how you met the competency. And you can always add additional pages if you need to, whether it's a Word document or an additional Excel spreadsheet or even another tab here. You can click on the plus and incorporate a new sheet. And yeah, so this, we want you to have really detailed information for your own records as well as for us. So next is the SPE summary, which is in green. And you can fill out the top part here, this personal contact information, at any time. As you see, it's really just your personal information. And then when you go down to rows 29 through 34, this will fill in automatically, as it says. So this will calculate from the hour tracking log. It will calculate the total category A hours, B hours, and C hours. And then your hours with your supervisor, et cetera. So you don't need to fill that part in. And then for supervisor information, there are spaces for information on 4 supervisors, as you see here: supervisor 1, supervisor 2, supervisor 3, and supervisor 4. So typically we see that candidates work with 1 or 2, potentially 3 different supervisors. So, you will just fill this out accordingly. If you don't have a 3rd or 4th, then you will just leave this blank. And then, of course, if you work with more than 4, you can copy and paste these rows, like 77 through 88, and you can paste them below here, or you can insert new rows if you worked with more than 4 supervisors. And then if you see here the candidate signature, this you can just type in, and as we have here, a typed signature is legally binding in this case. So there's nowhere to put an electronic signature in our uploaded Excel sheet. And let's see, so the supervisor, the SPE guidelines sheet, we talked about this. Candidate responsibilities. This is another, yellow tab. Please read each of these 10 statements very carefully. And as you see here, you should type yes next to each, unless there's some reason that you have to answer no. But your report will not be considered complete if you leave anything blank on this candidate responsibility page. So just read them carefully and check it off. If you can't see some of it, you can always kind of expand that cell and be able to read the whole thing. And so I kind of explained the hours tracking log, the self-evaluation, and the health conditions here. So you can go through these, and I think as you start to use this and incorporate the information and work with it on a daily basis, you will become very familiar with it. But it's, again, pretty self-explanatory. But and if you had ever seen the other forms, this has a lot more really good detailed information on a regular basis of what you're doing. And yeah, so I would like to thank you for watching. And there is tutorial 2, which goes more into detail on the tracking log and self-evaluation, and really how to fill this out sort of according to the description of clinical work that you're doing. And Amy will lead that tutorial. So thanks so much for watching. And please do contact the certification department by phone or email if you have any questions. Thanks so much.